the lead until the third quarter. Then there was a 15-point swing for the Denver Broncos. The Eagles are 4-1. I'm not even mad because the Eagles defense got tired because the Eagles offense couldn't go down the field and put points on the board. Like, I understand their struggles because I believe that when you're struggling to score points, and even though the Eagles were getting the ball to Devontae and Brown, but I really think that they didn't actually run the ball a lot more. Because, like, the only thing I hate about us Eagle fans, we always, you know, want our players to get what they want. If Brown complained about getting the ball, you'll hear people make videos about, well, Brown need to, Hurts need to get Brown and Devontae the ball when they complain. And they took actually Barkley out the game. They really didn't run the ball that much with Barkley. So Barkley really honestly didn't get a good chance. Besides that long catch that he had for a touchdown, he never got a chance to, carry the ball. Like, I think he only carried it about, like 8 times, I guess, and he had like 60 yards or probably less than that. I don't know because I forgot because they didn't run the ball so much. So the Eagles were throwing the ball a lot more. Now, I understand that Denver's a young team, but they have a good defense. They lead the league in sacks. So, and man, and what really blew my mind is when I guess it was near the end of the game when Bo Nix threw an intentional grounding and they picked the flag up. But a few plays later, the running back was running the football. I think it was Dylan. He got, tackled, and Bong came over the top and, dropped on top of him. But the referees didn't have to call that personal foul because that wasn't a personal foul. And the refs knew that. Now, I'm not going to make any excuses because the Eagles did kick the field goal Denver kicked the field goal right after that. So, and the Eagles had an opportunity to win the game. It should have been a pass interference downfield when I forgot who was covering. I think the linebacker was covering Goddard or the safety was covering Goddard, and Goddard got grabbed, and the referees didn't throw the flag. But I think that's what made that puzzled me because you threw a flag because they did throw a pass interference call for Devontae, but what made me upset was that intentional grounding call that was picked up. But you called, a penalty on Bong right after that, and y'all didn't pick up the flag. That made me so upset because why would you pick up the flag? Like, why didn't you just pick up the flag and say, okay, we didn't call intentional foul, we didn't call intentional grounding down here, we're not going to call it late hit. Why don't these referees ever let players play to win the game? Now, I understand that the Eagles stopped and they kicked the field goal, then Hurts got sacked. I think Hurts holds the ball a little bit too long sometimes, and I love Hurts. I love Hurts to death. I think he's a top notch quarterback. But I think that when you have all seasons, teams plans against you, and I believe that once the Eagles stop running the ball, I think the Eagles really couldn't do anything because the Eagles cannot create anything unless they run the ball. You can't create the play action unless you run the ball. Like I said, because we always want to see these stars get the ball, like give Devontae, give Brown the ball. Yes, they needed the ball, but you need to give the ball to your running back. You're probably your best player on your team, and I know that Barkley had to play well. Like I said, that last pass that he had, that he beat the linebacker and he ran in for a touchdown. But I believe that the Eagles stopped running the ball because they didn't run the ball that much in the second half. And I'm shocked about that because they were running the ball for the past 3 games. They ran the ball like consistently. I understand that Brown complained about not getting the ball. Devontae said he's not involved, but Devontae is involved. I don't know why he said that he's not involved. But Brown wasn't, and like I said in my last video, Brown really, honestly, sometimes I don't even think Brown works hard sometimes. I think he gives up on plays. Those last games that he had last time, and he was complaining about the ball, he really didn't stretch the field. He didn't run down the field as much. and he dropped some passes. I know Hurts overthrew him a couple of times. There wasn't a seeing eye to eye, and I believe that when like last year when Barkley was averaging at least over 5 yards a carry, and he was running like 70, 60, 20, 30 yard long runs. I think the Eagles are doing too much of trying to run the ball in the middle of the field. Like they keep on doing these draws. Like they keep on running between the the guard and the guard and the center. They keep on trying to run, like not from off tackle or probably run some plays that are away from that toward the sidelines, like run some sleeps, some power. But every single time I look at that Barkley is running up the middle of the field all the time. And I'm like, why does he keep on running up the middle of the field? Like, why don't they just do some plays that they can run, like, towards Johnson, the tackle, in between the tackle and the guard? Why do they always have to run between the center and the guard? Like, why can't they, give Barkley opportunity to use his speed? Now, Barkley, to me, I think he's hurt because a lot of the plays that I've seen Barkley was doing, he was slowing down a lot. And they were tackling him in the backfield like it's nothing. Now, I'm not going to say I'm not going to give no credit to Denver. And I said Denver is always, to me, one of them teams that will come and beat you because they're young, like the Rams. The Rams should have beat the Eagles. Tampa Bay should have beat the Eagles. And even Dallas had opportunity. Yeah, he could have beat the Eagles. He could have been 0-4 right now. But they're 4-1. So, hey, it's a loss is a loss. We're going to get mad. We're going to get upset. We're going to hear all week about, well, we got a short week because we played the Giants on Thursday. But it's going to be another good team, another good defensive line, that the Eagles are going to be playing against. I know the Giants are struggling on offense, but they always play well against the Eagles on defense. Even though that the Eagles beat them, and sometimes they'll beat the crap out of them, but their defense always plays well. And that's what's really making me, and honestly, I believe the Eagles defense got tired. Like, because the Eagles offense couldn't stay on the field, so they had to punt. So when they got the back in the second half, they punt back to back. So every single time the Eagles defense was on the field, the Eagles defense was getting tired. It's like the heat actually drained them. They said it was 80 degrees out there. So I believe that the Eagles gotten tired. I think they got so tired, and I think the Eagles got beat because not just because of the referee. I believe the Eagles I don't know. It's something about them this year, even though they won the Super Bowl last year. I don't know. Like Fangio, like I was looking at some of his defensive plays. They couldn't stop the run. And the thing that the Rams did, Denver did. They ran the football really well against the Eagles. I know Nick throws the ball, and sometimes he'll give the ball up. Eagles had opportunity to get some turnovers. And like I said, like the Eagles couldn't stop the run. Like they were running the ball over the Eagles. In the last few games when the Eagles were playing, Eagles struggled against the run. Like, they've been struggling. And I don't know if nobody sees it. Yes, they have a great shell defense, but you can run against that defense. I told people before, if you can get the run against that defense, you're going to open up plays for big plays. And honestly, Denver had some opportunities for some big plays downfield. It was just overthrown and they were dropped. And I'm like, this is the reason why a lot of teams are probably saying we can beat the shell, because all you have to do is just throw the ball in between the two safeties that back there, because all they're doing is trying to protect the deep ball and keep everything in front of them. But the Eagles couldn't stop the run. And even near the end of the game, when Bone got that fucking personal foul, the Eagles didn't even stop them. It was a 3rd and 2. See, this was making me like the Eagles are going to have problems with stopping the run through the whole season because they don't have Dean, they don't have Smith, so they don't have actually their good run stopping play. I know they got Bone, but they still need to stop the run because it helps to play action. And Bo Nix, he's young, and Bo Nix was throwing some good passes, even though that he made some mistakes in the game. Like, he was holding the ball. He threw one play that was so crazy that he stopped, he turned around, and he threw the ball. And the first intentional grounding that he had, I'm like, okay, so the second intentional ground he had, they picked the flag up. And I was so pissed off at that because that was an intentional ground because nobody was around the ball. And they knew that. But I don't know if the referee said, well, fuck it, we're going to call it. But I'm thinking the referee's going to pick up the flag after Bong hit, what's his name? Dobbins late. But I thought they were going to pick a flag up because, eye for an eye. No, they didn't do that. They just like, okay, personal foul, on Bong. Bong like, what the hell? You see Sirianni fucking pissed. And I was pissed off too. I'm like, yo, like you can't, referees, you can't make that call. Like, come on, let them play. They're only down by 1 point. They're not up by like 15. They're only down by one. So you can't let the teams play, even though the Eagles stopped them and they kicked the field goal. Then the Eagles got the ball back, um, and they had an opportunity to win because I believe Devontae, if he was by himself, and if Brown wasn't behind him, I believe Devontae would have caught that ball because he had the ball in his hand. He just dropped it because Brown tried to grab the ball too. Because I don't think Brown knew he was in front of him because Brown is a lot taller, so he probably didn't think anybody was in front of him, or he probably thought the defender was in front of him. He was going to knock the ball down, but Devontae was in front of him, and Devontae had the ball in his hand, but Brown took the ball from him. The game was over, and it pisses me off because, like I said, that referees need to stop doing that. They need to stop controlling the game to make them be the ones that actually call the last play. And I didn't like that they could have picked that flag up, and even if they would have kicked the field goal, I mean, that intentional grounding honestly could have got the Eagles to get a punt back. So the Eagles didn't have to. Honestly, Denver didn't have to kick that. Denver would never got a field goal. If that intentional ground stand, the Eagles probably would have stopped it and got the ball back for a punt. Because remember, Eagles didn't have no timeouts. And I'm pissed off because, you know, after the Eagles gave up the first down, like right after the flag was picked up for intentional grounding, they got a first down right after that. So I was pissed off at the Eagles giving up a first down because their defense was so tired. Like, and I don't have nothing against Hurts. Hurts played a game that honestly they should have won, even though they had the lead, but it was a 15-point swing. So, like, Denver wanted the game more. It's like Philadelphia didn't even want the game. Like, they just gave the game to them in the third quarter because the Eagles had the lead in the third quarter, and they just say, here, Denver, take the win. And the Eagles were sitting there like, okay, we're going to let them score, you know, two touchdowns and a two-point conversion. And when they came up to two-point conversion, I wasn't really pissed because they were down by one. And I'm like, you know, Hurts is going to bring them back and win because Hurts is really good at doing that. But like I said before, the defense really lost the game. Everybody's talking about how great the defense was during the first 4 games. Yes, they were really great. But this game, the defense really didn't control the game. They gave up a lot of big plays that Denver needed. Bo Nix had a long run for a first down. You know what I mean? Dobbins had a long run for a first down. They really didn't even use Sutton like that. Sutton had a couple of passes, but he dropped a couple of passes. You know that Denver really didn't get their receivers involved too much, except Ingram. That's the only. They really was running the ball, and they were using Bo Nix to run the ball. They didn't really throw the ball that much downfield, or they did get the ball downfield, except that one play, that huge play that they threw the ball downfield to Sutton, but they didn't really do nothing on offense. The Eagles lost that game because I believe the defense just got tired, and the referees did not give the Eagles an opportunity to, to stop Denver, on 4 downs from that damn intentional grounding that was picked up. I wish they could actually interview the referees and ask why they picked that flag up. Because I thought it was going to be like what was like 3rd down and 14. I'm like, okay, it's 3rd and 14. I looked up, it was 3rd and 4. I'm like, hold up, why would they pick up the intentional grounding flag? Because that's what the referees do. The referees love being involved in big games. And this game, to me, wasn't a huge game, but it made the Eagles 5-0. But I think it was good for the Eagles to lose because the flaws that they had in this game, it's not because of the last few games they were playing terrible. Hurts played a lot better. Brown played a lot better. Devontae got his catches. Goddard got his catches. That big long pass to Barkley, good play. But the defense just was like, we need some spinach. Because they didn't play well. The Eagles defense didn't play well. Bo Nix really, honestly, except a couple of plays that they got pressure on him, Bo Nix was throwing the ball and completing passes. Like one play that got completed to, I think it was Sutton, and when Mitchell was facing the other direction, and he allowed Sutton to catch the football. Like he let him catch the ball, and it was an automatic first down. Or when he got that pass interference call in the end zone. Like those are the things you can't do when you're playing against a team that actually is desperate to win. And they know if they can beat the Eagles, it will be a big win for Bo Nix, Peyton and the Denver Broncos because they're playing the Super Bowl champions. Now the Eagles are playing against the Giants next. It's a rivalry game, which this game is going to be very, very hard. The Giants can come and just beat the Eagles too because they have a good defensive line. Everybody know their quarterback, their young quarterback's going to probably try to play well against the Eagles, and I think they're going to have because I believe Denver, the Giants remind me of Denver. They remind me of the Denver Broncos. You know, like they're young. They're coming to come. They're going to come and try to beat the Eagles, and the Eagles got to go and look at what they've been doing wrong in this game. I know a lot of people are upset. A lot of people probably was throwing things at the TV. You know, people were probably cursing out the referees, probably cursing out Hurts because Hurts was getting sacked a lot in the game. Because Hurts hold the ball a little bit too long. Because sometimes, like I said before, the receivers don't get open. I know Devontae can get open because he's a great route runner. But I believe that, like I said before, if you don't put Brown in the slot, I think it's going to be harder for him to get open. Even though he's catching passes, but they were playing a lot of zero coverage because honestly, they played a lot of man. They didn't play a lot of zone. They played a lot of man in that game. So they played with zero safeties. That's how the Eagles got their touchdown before because they had no safeties. They're playing with zero coverage. And I'm like, damn, if the Eagles can just start running the football and run the clock down, they didn't do that. The Eagles did not run the football. The Eagles did not run the football to try to run the clock down. Denver kept getting the ball. And even when Barkley got the ball, for some freaking reason, he could not get a long run. It's like, I don't know what, like I said, it's that people don't believe in the man curse. I believe in the man curse because it was kind of funny that Barkley was leading the league in rushing, averaging over 5 yards a carry, had 2,000 yards. Now this man can't get over 100 yards. Like, it's kind of weird because they're stacking a line. Well, like I said, they're stacking a line of scrimmage. They're bringing the safeties down. They're not trying to let motherfucking Barkley beat them. They want Hurts to beat them. So I understand. They're going to bring that extra safety down in the box, you know, or they're going to play a lot more nickel because they're going to try to play the run because all they were doing was playing the run. Through the whole game, they were playing the run. But the Eagles, I don't know what it is about. I don't know if it's the new coordinator. I think the coordinator gets really confused sometimes because on certain downs and distances, I don't think that he knows what he's doing. And Hurts, like one play, I'm like, throw the ball. Hurts stays in the pocket. He runs up, and he's still in a passing motion. And also another one is when Nick's fumbled the football. They call him throwing the ball forward. I'm like, no, that's empty hand. That's a fumble. When you're throwing the ball forward and the ball is thrown forward and thrown back behind you, that's a fumble. But they called it a tuck rule. But they said, obviously, they called it the tuck rule. So they did the same thing when Brady went through when he played against the fucking Raiders and when Woodson hit him and they called it the tuck rule. I'm like, that's not the tuck rule. That should have been the Eagles' ball. But like I said, I believe sometimes that these referees know how to make teams lose. And it was a big loss for the Eagles. Like I said, I'm not going to blame the referees. I blame the Eagles because the Eagles should have won this game. This game was in their hands. And they lost this game themselves because they got too cute, too cocky. And, you know, all I think they worried about is throwing the ball to Brown. The ball to Brown and Devontae. They didn't give Hurts, they didn't give Barkley any chances to get an opportunity to get any carries. And then I knew they threw the ball to Goddard a lot. You know, they got hurt. So, and then you had Dickerson that got hurt. So that really didn't help the offensive line when he got hurt. So your center gets hurt. Your defensive line, I don't know if Carter got tired. You barely see Davis in the game. Smith played well because he had a sack. Mitchell played okay, but he did get beat on some plays. You know, Cooper DeJean played outstanding, like he always do. Then, it's like ever since they got rid of Gardner, I don't think they have a pure safety. Like a real, I know they got Blankenship, but I believe that they need Gardner type safety because Gardner didn't play well last year, like all the way, but he did make some big plays. That's what I'm saying. The Eagles struggled with, you know, even though they got a couple of big plays, but they struggled when they got down to the end zone. Now I got to give credit what credit due. Denver Broncos had the number one defense in the NFL with sacks, and they were the best team in the red zone. So I got to give them credit. But the Eagles have Barkley. The Eagles have Brown. The Eagles have Devontae. They have Goddard. And they have a solid offensive line. And the Eagles, to me, should have blown them out. But they didn't. So this is the reason why I give Denver so much respect. Because like I said, I like Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is a good quarterback. He reminds me a lot of Tony Romo. Well, Tony Romo used to play. He reminds me of Tony Romo. That's what Tony Romo said. Well, he reminds me so, but he reminds me of Baker Mayfield. I said no. No, Bo Nix reminds me of Tony Romo because Tony Romo used to do the same thing to the fucking Eagles. He used to run around all fucking time and find people open for no fucking reason. And half of the time, you were like, God damn, how did Romo do that shit? And he would get on your nerves. That's the thing that Bo Nix was doing to the Eagles. He was getting on their nerves. Even though he was not making big, humongous plays downfield, but he made the passes that, that he needed to make to win the game. And I gotta respect, I respect Sean Payton. He's a great coach. Like, he's been doing it for a long time. I know he did a lot of shit towards Russell Wilson, but still, I think that he still can coach. He might be his probably last few years. I respect the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos is not a bad team. It's just that I believe Bo Nix is going to be a good quarterback one day, but not now. He's still learning the game. Dobbins is good. They still got Ingram. They got some good players on defense. Their defense is really, really good. But the Eagles played not that well. Even though I believe the Eagles probably could have gotten, could have been down by a touch. Like, at least they were down by 4? They could have been down by a touchdown, or they could have been down by 8. I still think if the Eagles would have still scored, I think the Eagles still would have lost. I don't think the Eagles could have won that game if Denver would have went up on them, because now you're forcing Hurts have the ball in his hands. I know Hurts can win games because he won 14 games before with the clock's running out. But the thing about it is, I don't believe that this game was the Eagles took this team too lightly. It's like they did not come to play. It's like, oh, it's another easy win because they're playing against a younger team that has a younger quarterback. But I'm like, did they see Bo Nix last year? He took the team to a playoffs last year, and he played really well. He didn't play that well against the Broncos. Against the Bills, because the Bills beat the crap out of him. But they looked at him being the future, and he only started 28 fucking games. But the Eagles, this game today should open the Eagles' eyes because their next game is against the Giants. So, and they got a hard ass fucking schedule, dog. I looked at their schedule. I'm like, wow, they got a hard schedule, man. It's going to be hard for the Eagles to play throughout this whole schedule, not probably losing 5 games. Because if you're not putting points to the board, and see, the Eagles didn't really go against really good teams yet. Like, really, besides Kansas City and besides the Rams, the Eagles really didn't go against, like, Buffalo. They played Buffalo this year. They play a lot of good teams that can put points on the board. So, just how you ever notice that the Eagles lost the same way the Phillies lost yesterday? The Phillies had the fucking lead 3-0, and they lost the game 5-3. They lost the game 5-3 because they just, like, I don't know what fucking Dodgers did. The Dodgers woke the fuck up, and they started hitting, and the Phillies defense just went downhill, just like the Eagles defense today went downhill. They were up. They lost the game. So, do I get mad and frustrated? No. They only lost 1 game. Being 4-0, being 5-0 is great. But, let's go move on to the Giants. It's time to hunt the Giants now. It's our rival. We played the Giants, honestly, almost back-to-back, because we played the Giants, and then we played somebody else, and we played the Giants again. So, we basically played them back-to-back. So, I don't know when we're going to have a bye, but our bye's not coming anytime soon. But the Eagles just didn't win this game, and I think they would have lost anyway because I think Denver won the game more. They knew that they're going against the defending champions. They knew that the Eagles struggled through the last few games of the week. And so I believe that the Eagles came too cocky. They came too sluggish. And when they had the lead, they didn't keep the lead because they didn't run the football. When you have a lead, you got to run the ball. I don't care if Barkley averaging a yard a carry. You run the ball. You keep on running until you break one. Why do you keep passing the ball on every down? Like I said before, they're trying to satisfy their players. This is not how you win games. You don't win games by trying to satisfy your players. You win games by getting the ball to the players you need to win the game. And Barkley was probably standing there like, yo, I'm not getting the ball. I know Barkley ain't going to complain. Barkley's probably going to sit there and say there's a reason why I never got the ball because of Vontae and because of Brown. But that will probably make me upset. Like, yo, I can get the ball. But people say, oh, yes, you did. No, he never got the ball. He never got the ball like his carries. Like, he usually get like at least about 20 to 25 carries. He got less than that. And the Eagles, Hurts was just throwing the ball. Like, I'm like, why are they not running the ball? You got the clock on your side. Run the ball. You're up by 17-3, but you're throwing the ball. Like, why are you not running the ball? When you're up, you run the ball. When you are not up, you throw the ball. That's how you play football. You don't throw the football when you have the lead. You run the clock when you have the lead. Especially you got a few minutes left in the game. You run the ball and you keep the ball away from the team that gets a couple of first downs and a momentum. They can come back and win. That's what Denver did. Denver kept getting these momentum plays, getting first downs, and the Eagles couldn't stop them. Like, they lost this game because the Eagles could not stop them on offense. Like, they were going down the field, and they were picking the Eagles apart. Now, I'm not going to say that the Eagles defense didn't play well, because they did. But they didn't play well enough to win. And everybody could look at that game and say, God damn, only if the Eagles did this and the referees didn't do that, we would have won the game. But we can't make an excuse for the referees. The Eagles should say, okay, we didn't get that attention to ground call. Let's stop this team and get the ball back to help to make sure our offense can score. No, they didn't do it that way. The Eagles, it's like the Eagles struggled to get to the 50, and even get a field goal out of it. At least get a field goal out of it, and it happened. So I'm not mad about the loss because, like I said, the Eagles are going to be okay. I'm still believing the Eagles are going to win the division. The Eagles, nobody's better than the Eagles in this division. So I believe the Eagles are going to win their division. Dallas, and I think Dallas probably make the playoffs. Maybe the Giants or Redskins. We don't know because we haven't seen them play a full game yet, and the Eagles haven't played a full game yet. So the Eagles never played a full game yet of how their offense and defense is working right now because their defense is chilling at the sister house watching the game, and they're not out there doing what they're supposed to do, locking up criminals. So the game, it was like, I'm looking at the football game like, yo, the Eagles can lose this game. The Eagles might end up losing this game. Because I had that feeling all week that the Eagles were going to lose the game. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with losing. Everybody want to be undefeated. I don't care about being undefeated. Because there's a lot of teams that be undefeated in the regular season and their life change. Right through an accident or something happens. But when you are thinking of, okay, we're going to speed up the clock. So, you know what I mean? And even if I wake up tomorrow, at least I'll have some. Man. The Eagles, I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what happened from, and they were talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm looking at the score that, the Kansas City Chiefs could have went on the scoring 3 the same way and beat the Eagles the same, like catching the Eagles to beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. But this game right here, it's a sad game for the Eagles, team, because now people will be like, is the Eagles that team to beat? Is the Eagles, what about Brown? Is he complaining? What about Devontae? Is he complaining? What's up with Hurts? Is he complaining about the receivers? Because sometimes the receivers be coming up to the fucking quarterback and telling them what they want to tell them to their face, and knowing, knowing what's his personality, he's not gonna come back and be disrespectful to him. And it's sad because, you just won the Super Bowl. Now you want the ball. Now you're a stat stuffer. No, those players should not even be on your fucking team. They want to stack stuff the fucking, NBA, the NFL. They're stacking these motherfucking players and making everybody like, God damn, no, what's up with people? What's up with your crib? No, they're not doing that to help and please the public. They're trying to understand why did the Eagles fucking lose this game. And the Eagles lost this game because the Eagles did not have anybody on their side. Not the referees. At first, the referees were doing kind of good officiating. They're calling, different penalties on different sides. And next thing you know, they start leaning to one side, saying, "Oh, well, the Eagles are in a legal formation, or it was an illegal pick, or something that made people like, what the fuck?" Or what else they get on somebody for? They got on somebody for something, and like it's some crazy crap, you know. But the Eagles lost, but they won to my heart. I'm just hoping next time when the Eagles play, I'm hoping that they, you know, go to this house right here, chill at this house. Nice. Let me stop. I'm sleepy as hell, dog. I just got to eating. That's why my eyes are closed. I'm sorry about this. I'm gonna try to make another video later because I am so sleepy. I can't even keep my eyes open. It's probably because of all that sodium I ate. And I only ate like a few French fries, and I'm sleepy. I'm gonna go take me a little nap. I'll be back on here to all my Eagle fans, all my real diehard Eagle fans. If you want to listen to me talk about my Eagles, because I know everything about football, but you want to talk about any team that you enjoy, that you like. You want to talk about Bad Bunny. You want to talk about the halftime show. You want to talk about anything that's going to be happening, anything during this football league. You want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. You want to talk about the Redskins. You want to talk about AFC, NFC. You want to talk about the South, the North, the West. Whatever you want to talk about, just let me know. Bless you. I'll be back on here later.